Hello, welcome to beautiful Seaside Heights, New Jersey. My name is Mr. G with Elite Weather, and we're going to be talking about your weather forecast coming up for your the rest of your evening tonight on Thursday and into your Friday and into the weekend. It's 79 degrees right now in Seaside Heights, New Jersey. I picked this as the city of the day because of how many times this location has appeared in the Sopranos show. So this is a very popular spot for the Sopranos, and I like this spot. So that's what our city of the day is going to be. Our area, or I don't know, our video of the day is Seaside Heights, New Jersey. Let's talk about the weather forecast across the country right now, as we are looking at a lot of hot weather all over the country, from coast to coast, from the desert Southwest, California, all the way to Florida, up into the mid-Atlantic, and eventually into the Northeast after we deal with some showers and thunderstorms across the Northeast, the Great Lakes, the upper Midwest, and the northern plains, as we are on the periphery of that giant dome of high pressure down across the central United States that's helping to energize some monsoon thunderstorms over the desert Southwest and through the Rockies, and we're seeing those thunderstorms riding along the periphery of that ridge of high pressure, and so we're seeing thunderstorms moving across the northern plains along the Canadian border. Boy, did we have a tremendous night of thunderstorms across Minnesota last night and in the Twin Cities here. Very loud night, big thunderstorms. Those thunderstorms continued this morning, but they finally broke up about 9 or 10. And ever since then, it's been absurdly hot and ridiculously humid. We had a high in Minneapolis today of 91 degrees, but with the humidity, our heat index was 97. And we're going to be seeing those heat indexes get even higher by the time we hit Friday, where the heat index can exceed 100 degrees as we continue to see a hot summer across the northern plains and the upper Midwest. So let's move on with the national weather forecast as we take a look at what's going on in your neck of the woods. Well, how about my little shout out to Willard Scott right there? When I'm talking about your neck of the woods, like I'm Good Morning America or something. But anyway, let's talk about that weather forecast. And first up, we're going to look at some thunderstorms that's going to be taking place across the Great Lakes area tonight. So if you're in the Detroit, Toledo, and Cleveland, in those areas tonight, in the late night or the late evening hours, we could be dealing with some severe thunderstorms over this region and over to parts of the Northeast. So Lake Ontario and Lake Erie, we're going to be dealing with some severe thunderstorms, and over Lake Huron as well, and parts of Lake Michigan. And we're going to be looking at a flash flood risk for some heavy rain and some hail. Did you see the hail across Davidson, Michigan the other day? Golf ball and baseball size hail. It looked like a scene out of Texas in Michigan. They've never seen hail like that in that area before, and they had that tremendous hail the other day, as well as some confirmed tornadoes as well in that event of severe weather across the Detroit area there. And here we are, going to see isolated tornadoes across the parts of eastern Michigan tonight, and we're going to be dealing with some heavy thunderstorms and parts of northern Ohio and western Pennsylvania and extreme western New York State. So if you're Buffalo, Cleveland, Cincinnati, not Cincinnati, but Toledo and Detroit, you're going to be looking at that potential for severe weather with damaging winds up to 70 miles per hour tonight. So please pay attention to your local weather forecast and be prepared to take action should the need arise. All right? So let's move on and talk about what we're going to be seeing across parts of the upper Midwest tomorrow. So Wisconsin, Minnesota, and northern Iowa, we're going to see the possibility of some severe thunderstorms tomorrow afternoon. And in this event, we're going to see some flooding, downpours. So some very heavy rain is going to be possible, some large hail, as well as localized damaging wind gusts up to 65 miles an hour. We're not expecting any tornadoes. We are looking at some damaging wind as a possibility. So please be prepared for those severe thunderstorms tomorrow from the Twin Cities down to Madison, Wisconsin, and into maybe Waterloo and Des Moines. So those are some of the areas that can be expecting some severe weather tomorrow in the afternoon and evening hours. Now, as we take a look at your Friday and Friday night, that severe weather will shift further to the south and east. So Iowa, and then over into southern Wisconsin and extreme northern Illinois. So Chicago, Milwaukee, Des Moines, Madison, and southeastern Minnesota. So if you're in Albert Lee or you're in Rochester, you have the risk for some severe thunderstorms where there is the risk for flash flooding, some hail, and some localized damaging winds up to 70 miles an hour. So again, pay close attention to your local weather forecast and monitor what's going on in those areas on your Friday and Friday night, as we're going to be looking at some more severe weather in those on that day. So here we are as we talk about the Northeast. Now, one of the things that we're looking at is our upper air pattern, where we're going to be seeing a what we call a fast zonal pattern. And what we've been seeing has been weak impulses riding along the Canadian border, where our jet stream has been mostly confined to the northern tier of the United States from the Pacific Northwest, and that jet stream has streamed all across the upper Midwest, so across Montana, North Dakota, northern Minnesota, and into Wisconsin and Michigan, and then off the East Coast. And we've been seeing that very flat jet stream, but what it has allowed for is these impulses, or very weak upper level impulses, to traverse along that jet stream, which has been the focus for the showers and thunderstorms that we've been seeing across the northern tier of the country over the last couple of days. We will continue in that pattern, where we will see that once again tomorrow and into Friday, before we start to get some amplification in the jet stream. And what that means is that we're going to start to build an upper level ridge, and also simultaneously a trough in the east. So a ridge over the central U.S. and troughing over the Northeast, which will lead to an eventual cool down across the Northeast over the weekend. But before we do that, we're going to get hot across the Northeast and into New England. So we're going to see your hot day on Thursday through Saturday, and we're going to be seeing hot days, the hottest days of the summer, and we could see increasing humidity, and we're going to be seeing temperatures with highs 6 to 12 degrees above the historical average for this time of the year, as we have that very strong high pressure coming in off of the Atlantic. We have an expanded Bermuda high, and that Bermuda high is a little bit further to the west. So what it's doing is pulling up warm, moist air from the south and off of the Gulf Stream and along the southeastern U.S., and that warm, humid air is being pulled in along the northwest side of the Bermuda high, and it's pulling in that warm air off of the Atlantic and off the southern United States and from the Gulf Coast as well. So that's going to be some very hot air for a couple of days across the Northeast and the mid-Atlantic states. And here is a look at the sweltering temperatures, where we're going to have heat indexes into parts of the Ohio Valley here, from the Ohio Valley. So we're talking about Cleveland, Columbus, so Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, down through Kentucky, Tennessee, Missouri. We're going to be seeing it very high over those regions. And then also right here along the eastern coast, so New Jersey, Delaware, Maryland, Virginia, and North Carolina, and right in this region, what we call the Piedmont area and Shenandoah, is where we're going to be seeing another area where it's going to have a lot of excessive heat, and that heat is going to be 105 to 110 degrees heat index. The actual air temperatures will be about in the mid to upper 90s, but we're going to see those heat indexes with that high humidity in place get up to 110 degrees. So it's going to be very hot across the Northeast Friday afternoon, especially. It will be sweltering heat out there. So do what you can to stay cool, drink plenty of fluids. Stay inside in the air conditioner or go to the pool. Do what you can to stay comfortable and stay cool out there. And remember to check on your neighbors. Any senior citizens that might be living alone, make sure that they have air conditioners and plenty to drink. Make sure they're comfortable. Remember to take care of each other, as this can be a very dangerous weather situation for the elderly and the infirm. So if you have people who are disabled or anything like that, and small children, also make sure that they have plenty of hydration and they're able to keep cool. So that's going to be a quick look at the heat we're going to be seeing across the Northeast. Now, there's a bit of good news in this, because that heat is not going to last forever. And as we head through the end of the weekend, we have a cold front as our jet stream, our trough, begins to develop and build in. Unfortunately, means to the west across the central and northern plains. That means the amplification of our ridge is going to take place. So it's going to get warmer in those regions. But in the Northeast, we're going to see things cool down a bit Saturday through Sunday as our cold front here drops down slowly from the Northeast into the mid-Atlantic states. So by the time we get to the end of the day on Sunday, that cold front is going to be passing near Washington, D.C., and through parts of West Virginia and Kentucky. Our front will be driving by, so we're going to see some relief. But south of the front, it's going to remain hot and sticky, and those temperatures will be near 100 degrees, and those high heat indexes approaching 110. So you guys will deal with that through at least Monday along the mid-Atlantic and a little further down across the Southeast and toward the Gulf Coast. So it's going to be that front. It's not going to drop that far south, unfortunately. I think the further south it's going to get is maybe the Kentucky-Tennessee border and across the North Carolina and Virginia border and then into the Northeast. So a little bit of cooling for some of you folks, but a lot of you, unfortunately, are going to remain in the heat, and it's going to be rather uncomfortable out there. I'm going to pray for you and that it goes okay, that you guys are safe and everybody's healthy and you get through this and we can get to where we can get hopefully some cooler weather. Unfortunately, the models do not indicate much of a reprieve across the southern states. It's going to remain hot and humid, and be watching out for those random afternoon thunderstorms. All right, thinking of thunderstorms, we're going to see those thunderstorms across the Northeast where we're going to have flooding downpours. There's a lot of humidity out there, so these storms got a lot of moisture to work with. Dew points creeping up into the 70s, so very high humidity and a weak cold front in the area that's going to be dropping to the south. That's going to be the focus for showers and thunderstorms. So a couple of lines of storms may develop down across the Northeast and into the mid-Atlantic states as we head through Saturday and Saturday evening. So we're going to be seeing those downpours that can lead to some flash flooding. Remember, some parts of the Northeast from Pennsylvania through upstate New York and into the Adirondacks, we've already seen tremendous amounts of rainfall already this summer, and this more rainfall is just going to aggravate already situations where the ground is pretty well saturated and we've seen a lot of flooding. So it won't take much to add additional flooding through parts of the Northeast. So be watchful for those situations on the highways. If you're on I-95 or 91 and you're driving through some areas where you might, if you see water-covered highways, turn around, don't drown, because all you need is 2 inches of water for your car's wheels to lose contact with the road surface and can cause your vehicle to begin to float away in rushing flood water. So please be careful with what you're doing out there if you're traveling on the highways in an area that's been inundated by heavy rainfall. So again, keep in mind for that. We're not worried about tornadoes, so thank God for that. That's one thing we don't have to worry about, but it can always occur, so be prepared. All right, so we have that relief, as I mentioned before, and this is going to be early into next week. So Monday, Tuesday, we're going to really see that high pressure build out the west. You see this here. If you look at this, this is our trough here across the northeast and into New England. But to the west here, we have a high amplitude ridge, and that ridge is going to keep things hot for places like Minnesota, North and South Dakota, down through Nebraska and Kansas, and Iowa is going to continue hot across the Midwest. But in New England and the Great Lakes, a nice cool down where we're going to see those temperatures come down and be a lot less humid and a bit cooler and a nice northwesterly flow. That wind is going to feel really nice on your skin with lower humidities and cooler Canadian air. Unfortunately, it could also possibly mean that we can get some more smoke, again, from Canada, from the wildfires. But if we get a stiff enough breeze and we have what we call boundary layer mixing, if we can get the air to mixing and a bit more turbulent, more spinning in the atmosphere, that can prevent the smoke from coalescing in what we call a convergence zone, or where if it's not stagnated by air that's not moving around too much. If we have an inversion layer, inversions will trap the smoke in the atmosphere. But if we keep a nice mix in the atmosphere, we won't develop inversions, temperature inversions that will trap that smoke, so that we can keep the air quality somewhat decent. So that's a little bit about that possibility that could occur later in the week if the air begins to get more stagnant, especially as the amplitude of the high begins to shift to the east and the trough begins to lift up or flatten out, if we call it. So if the trough begins to flatten out, that could certainly cause air quality issues across the Great Lakes and Northeast. So here is a look at our upper air pattern that we've been dealing with over the last couple of weeks and what we're going to be dealing with continuing. Here's our jet stream across the north. As you can see, slight troughing in the Great Lakes and in the Northeast, but it's not enough troughing that we would see the temperatures rather cool. It's still hot even across the Northeast and the Great Lakes. It's been hot everywhere over the last couple of days, and a lot of humidity, and it also is allowing for those thunderstorms to traverse across the northern tier. And we have this ridge of high pressure. This is our continental blocking high. This is the Bermuda blocking high. So this high pressure combined with this high pressure is really adding a lot of steam to the atmosphere, a lot of heat, and we have a couple of areas where we've been seeing some thunderstorms that are allowed to develop along the periphery, which is the edges of these domes of high pressure. And one of those peripheries are to the north, where we're seeing the moisture coming in off of the Gulf of Mexico, and that air is being pulled in on the base of this high, and it's being pulled around the ridge into the northern plains, where it's getting trapped up into the flow across the jet stream. And any kind of disturbance traversing north of the ridge along the jet stream is going to be tapping into some of that moisture, and it's going to create enough instability for isolated showers and thunderstorms for Minnesota, North and South Dakota, Montana, and then all the way over to Wisconsin, Michigan, and into the Northeast. We can see those random showers and thunderstorms just like we had last night. Overnight, late night, 2 o'clock in the morning. Big thunderstorms overnight, severe storms. We had a severe thunderstorm watch at 2 a.m. and then those storms continued in the morning today, and we're going to see those severe thunderstorms again tomorrow. So it's those random thunderstorms that are about 24 to 36 hours between episodes. So we're going to continue to see that because we're dealing with the activity that's riding along the periphery between these ridges of high pressure. And there's probably enough area here that some showers and thunderstorms can develop in states like Miss Alabama, Kentucky, Tennessee, Indiana, and Ohio. We're also seeing some random thunderstorms in between. But if you're underneath one of those domes of high pressure, unfortunately for you, you're not going to see a thunderstorm because you have subsiding air. So that air is kind of it's kind of like putting a lid on the air and then squeezing it, and it's making that pressure go higher, and that prevents clouds from developing. So you won't see any clouds developing, but you will be seeing it very hot, especially down in Texas and the desert Southwest. That is your weather forecast. My name is Mr. G. I hope this forecast was informative and you may have learned a little bit about the weather. Leave it locked right here to this YouTube channel and to me on TikTok. You can follow me and you can subscribe on YouTube. I've been at the 490 something for like a month. Please subscribe to the channel so we can hit that 500. We're almost there. We need like 6 more subscribers to hit that 500 mark. So go on and help a brother out, because I'm working my way through meteorology school. I'm working hard for y'all to get these weather forecasts for you. So thank you for watching. Leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Bye-bye.